In the heart of New York, a billionaire stopped dead in her tracks when she saw a ragged homeless boy crouched on the pavement, teaching her daughter. What began as an angry shout would turn into the most life-changing day of her life, and the world would soon know the boy's name. Victoria Whitfield had walked the same path through Central Park for years, her polished heels clicking against the pavement, her mind already running through board meetings and billion-dollar deals. But this morning, her steps slowed, then stopped. Just a few feet away, her 10-year-old daughter Emma sat cross-legged on the dirty sidewalk, completely absorbed in something, or rather someone. A boy, no older than 15, with skin smudged from street dust, hair messy and unkempt, and clothes that looked like they hadn't been washed in weeks, was crouched beside her. In his hand was a small, broken piece of chalk, and on the pavement sprawled a maze of strange symbols, numbers, and shapes. Victoria's pulse spiked. The sight of her precious Emma next to this stranger, a boy who clearly had no home, no place in her world, sent a sharp anger rushing through her. "Get your filthy hands away from my daughter, now!" Her voice sliced through the crisp morning air, drawing curious glances from joggers and dogwalkers nearby. Emma startled, her head snapping up, but the boy didn't flinch. He lifted his gaze to meet Victoria's, and in his dark eyes there was no fear, only a calm steadiness, like he had seen worse storms than her outrage. "Mom, wait!" Emma blurted, standing protectively between them. "He's teaching me something amazing!" The boy stayed silent, still holding the chalk as if it were a sword he refused to drop. Victoria's breath caught. The symbols on the pavement weren't childish doodles. They were advanced equations she recognized from the rare occasions she skimmed scientific reports. A homeless boy teaching her daughter math? It was unthinkable. Yet, as she looked closer, something about the precision of those numbers tugged at her curiosity, even as her instincts screamed to pull Emma away. Victoria's fingers tightened around Emma's hand, ready to pull her away from the boy squatting on the pavement. His clothes were torn, his shoes barely holding together, and his hands were covered in chalk dust. But Emma's eyes were wide with excitement. "Mom, wait! He's teaching me something amazing!" she insisted, tugging free. Victoria's lips parted to protest, but her gaze fell on the markings the boy had been making, an intricate series of symbols and numbers. Her breath caught. She knew this equation. It was buried deep in her company's confidential research reports, the kind of formula corporate analysts struggled to crack for weeks. "Where did you learn that?" she asked sharply. The boy didn't flinch. "The library," he said then after a pause. "And the streets." His voice was soft, but it carried a quiet strength. Emma knelt beside him, hanging on to every number he wrote. Victoria's instinct screamed to pull her away, but something in the boy's focus held her there. He moved the chalk with a precision she had never seen, as though the math lived inside him. Crowds passed, barely glancing their way, but to Victoria, it felt like the world had gone still. Her daughter leaned closer, asking questions, and the boy answered each one with patience and clarity. Every stroke of chalk seemed deliberate, elegant, like he was painting a masterpiece only numbers could reveal. Victoria's skepticism began to crack. Who was this boy, and how could someone with nothing possess a mind like this? When Emma looked up at her, eyes shining, Victoria realized this wasn't just a chance meeting. It was the beginning of something she couldn't yet name. And for the first time, she didn't feel the urge to walk away. That afternoon, Victoria's mind was still replaying the image of Malik's chalk-covered hands moving with such purpose. She couldn't shake it. Acting on impulse, she called an old friend, Dr. Harris, one of the city's most respected mathematics professors. "I need you to meet someone," she said. Within hours, Malik was sitting in her sleek, glass-walled office, his posture wary but his eyes alert. Dr. Harris placed a stack of advanced equations in front of him, the kind that made seasoned mathematicians sweat. Malik scanned the first problem, then began to write, no hesitation, no wasted motion. Within minutes, the answer was neatly worked out. But he didn't stop there. He explained each step, breaking down complex concepts into simple, vivid images, as though the numbers themselves were telling a story. Dr. Harris leaned forward, fascinated. One by one, Malik dismantled every problem, replacing confusion with clarity. When the last paper hit the desk, Dr. Harris looked at Victoria, his voice almost a whisper. "This boy is a prodigy. I've seen talent, but never like this. He could change how mathematics is taught forever." Victoria's chest tightened. The word prodigy echoed in her mind, clashing with the reality that Malik spent his nights on cold park benches, surviving on scraps. She glanced at him, the quiet confidence in his eyes, the intelligence that refused to be dimmed by hardship, and felt a strange mix of awe and guilt. How many Maliks had the world ignored? How much brilliance had been left to wither simply because it wore tattered clothes? In that moment, Victoria realized this was no longer about a chance meeting in the park. Malik's life, and perhaps her own, was about to change. Over lunch at a quiet cafe, Malik sat across from Victoria, his hands wrapped around a warm cup of soup as if savoring not just the heat but the rare feeling of being cared for. At first, he was hesitant to speak, his eyes fixed on the table, but slowly, the words began to flow. His mother, he told her, had been a math teacher, the kind who could make numbers feel like magic. She had taught him to see patterns in everything, from the way leaves grew on a branch to the rhythm of footsteps on a sidewalk. But when she passed away suddenly, his world fell apart. His father, already distant, vanished without a trace, leaving Malik to fend for himself at just 12 years old. He bounced between shelters and park benches, but one thing never changed. Every morning, he went to the public library. There, he devoured books on math, physics, and engineering, losing himself in equations that felt more reliable than the people who had left him. "Numbers," he said softly, looking up at Victoria. "They're the only thing that never lied to me. They're always true, no matter how broken the world gets." Victoria felt a knot in her chest tighten. She had built her empire on logic, strategy, and precision, yet here was a boy who had mastered those same tools without privilege, without comfort, without even a roof over his head. She felt guilt for judging him so quickly, admiration for his relentless mind, and a strange protectiveness she had never experienced for anyone outside her own family. For the first time in years, Victoria saw success not as something earned in boardrooms, but as something born in resilience, grit, and an unshakable will to learn. The next morning, Victoria stood before a row of microphones in front of her company's headquarters, her daughter Emma by her side and Malik just a step behind. The gathered press expected an announcement about a new corporate venture, but instead, Victoria's voice rang clear with something far more personal. She told the story of a boy with nothing but a piece of chalk and a mind that could outpace the brightest in the city. Then, to everyone's astonishment, she announced that she was adopting Malik, ensuring he would have a home, a family, and the education he deserved. But she didn't stop there. She revealed the creation of a scholarship fund dedicated to finding and supporting homeless youth with exceptional talent. "Sometimes," she told the cameras, "the greatest minds don't come from the top, they rise from the very bottom." The city buzzed with the news, her decision sparking debates, admiration, and hope in equal measure. That night, Malik sat in a warm bedroom for the first time in years, a soft bed beneath him and a desk by the window. In his hands was a fresh notebook, the first page already filling with equations and sketches for an invention he had been dreaming about for months. Emma poked her head through the door, a mischievous smile on her face. "So, what are we learning tomorrow, teacher?" she asked. Malik looked up at her, his eyes brighter than they had ever been, and returned the smile. For the first time, he felt not like a boy surviving in the shadows, but like someone who belonged, not just to a home, but to a future worth building. And somewhere deep inside, he knew, this was only the beginning. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. Subscribe to Human Fables for more inspiring and powerful real-life stories.